Hey guys, welcome to Rhymes Times Thoughts. You might have caught me on SoundCloud, might have caught me on Spotify, but also you could goof around and see me on Instagram, Rhymes Times. Also, you might catch me on Twitter, Thomas Rhymes Jr., or even TikTok. But hey, thanks for tuning in. You probably know the opening thing we don't talk about, of course. We should never get too bored of what's going on in our government. I know they're wearing us down. But that's the plan. If we get worn down, we don't pay attention, and slowly things change. Some of our rights gets taken away, and it's hard to get them back. And so we don't talk about a couple of issues as well, what's going on. But hey, thank you for tuning in. Hey, the main thing is we don't just have some fun, talk about all the fun things from all different areas. But before we always do, what I always say, we need to kick it up. That's right. It's the podcast. It's time to really talk some talk and see what's going on. So like I said, we don't have some fun, talk about politics that we should never, ever put our guard down. But hey, let's go ahead and have some fun and talk about that. So hey, thank you again. Let's have some fun. Hey, there's many things that's going on, and everybody says, I don't understand. I still don't understand. And I hear from 4 years ago to now of how accountability changed. And I have great conversations with my buddies, strangers and stuff like that. And it's amazing how accountability changed. The whole definition of how we are held to a higher standard. So I think I'm not the greatest, I'm not the perfect person. There's no way. But also accountability is what we were based. Our parents hopefully taught us that. So why are we slowly defining accountability that we're not holding the most people that are most important to control laws in our life? I mean, think about it. Accountability really assures an individual or organization will be evaluated on their performance, behavior related to something of which they are responsible for. That's what accountability is, the term related to responsibility, but not seen from perception of oversight. But basically, it's accountability. We need to hold, not only just, we get held where we work, our employers, we get held by our wives, even our children at times. Accountability is really huge for doing what it's supposed to do. What it's supposed to do, it's really supposed to breeds trust among individual and teams, right? To allow people to count on each other. And whether it means meeting deadlines, fulfilling duties, feeling comfortable with enough to approach coworkers, managers, even our Senate, our House, and both branches from federal to state, they're supposed to work together, and they're supposed to be accountable for it. It's not just one party that controls anything, and if they're not in power, do everything possible to define accountability to not work with each other bipartisan. Where did that go? And that's what I don't get. I mean, we're supposed to muster the courage to see it, right? That's what we judge everybody, and finding the heart to own up to it. I mean, even some politicians have. I try. Sometimes it's hard, but I try to find the heart to own up to it because it's important. It's obtaining what the wisdom and to solve it together or individual to own up to that accountability and really exercise the meaning to do it. I mean, accountability is huge. So I don't understand why we're not doing that. And I tell you, if you really pay attention, there's a lot of bad things going on both sides, the Republican, the Democrats. If you ever did look up how many people got prosecuted just for 2020, for committing crimes, they're getting held accountable for it. So why aren't we holding the most powerful people accountable? Why are we making excuses just to make sure what our party is stronger than the other party? Because the more we give them the power to break the laws, it's harder for all the parties to work together. So if we're not holding one party accountable and the other party is not held accountable, how could they even work together? And think about the people that are in the office. I was stunned when I heard somebody mention that we should take the Espionage, the treason away from, not really pay attention to it. I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And then subpoenas. I mean, it wasn't you didn't hear people defining subpoenas until the last 4 years, previous 4 years. But all the other presidents, Republicans, Democrat, their parties, you have not heard of them not fighting subpoenas. And now it's like water. Like everybody, doesn't matter what party, not certified. And some people, the votes are not in, and they're already saying that, I'm not on certified because it's fake, it's rigged, and and they didn't finish casting all the ballots. I mean, counting them. That's how crazy it's getting, and the American people are not holding it to a higher standards. I don't understand why we are not doing that. I mean, think about that. Doesn't that really, I mean, if it's not anything, it should scare you. I mean, it literally should scare you that we are not holding people to the higher standards. I mean, how are we supposed to be the United States was, everybody used to look at us and held us to a higher standards. And now we're like a laughing stock of other nations because we can't get along. We can't, even when good things get passed, they fight it. I mean, everybody fights it. I mean, from Republicans to Democrats. I mean, and the scary thing is, I mean, I almost laugh when the House Republicans pushed to make drug prices legislature bipartisan. They pushed that. That was in May of 2021, guys. May 2021. And so all of a sudden now, in June of 2022, they're against it. I mean, the House Republicans pushed to make it a drug price legislation bipartisan to lower the drugs and all that. But then when it comes up, no bill is perfect, but I don't get it. I just don't get it. And they were part of that. But that's just how it is. Oh, wait till the other party gets in office and then we will pass it. It doesn't work that way. I mean, right away, they already, the other party, the Republicans was upset before about Hillary Clinton, Obama, and all that, right? Fought it teeth to nail to make sure nothing comes. Then all of a sudden, the Republicans get when their people in, and they had both houses in a sense, and they didn't push a lot of the issue that they ran on. I mean, how are we going to get better? I mean, really, if you guys really pay attention in this, what was the most important issues of 2016? The people were more concerned. 2016, what were we really concerned about? Well, 84% was economics. 80% was terrorists. 40% was foreign policy. 75%. Healthcare was 74%. Gun policy was 72%. Immigration was 70%. Social Security was 67%. Education was 68%. Supreme Court appointings was 65%. And the crazy thing, just talk about abortion, was only 40%. Treatment of gays and lesbian and transgenders. 2016. So nobody, the higher percentage, was not really concerned about abortion, treatments of gays, lesbian, and transgender. Because pretty much everybody thought nothing would happen in that. So the lowest priorities is they didn't think nothing will change. They didn't have to worry about that. Boy, were we fool, right? But then the Republican Party ran off of what? Building the wall. Made Mexico pay for it. Temporary ban on Muslims for entering the United States. Bringing manufactured jobs back. Imposing tariff on goods made in China and Mexico. Renegotiate or withdraw from the North American Free Trade Agreement and Trans-Pacific Partnership. Full repair of Obamacare, replace in the market-based alternative. Renegotiate the Iran deal and leave Social Security alone and cut taxes. Did that happen? Right? This is what the Republicans were running off of. Right? How much did that really happen? And the most funniest ones was that under proposed tax reform, that everybody would indeed get a cut on their taxes, right? But really, what happened? The top 1% received the more tax relief, and the bottom 60% of the taxpayers combined. We let them do that. We let my party do that. They didn't do anything for me that on the tax break. No. Some people are happy about that because guess what? They were above what I made. I was middle class in a sense, right? And the craziest one, bomb or take the oil from ISIS. Did we do that? Did we really do that? I mean, I don't think that happened. I mean, did it happen? That's a big laugh. Yeah, bomb and take the oil from ISIS. Yeah, I know, kind of funny. But that's what we kind of forget about. I mean, that's what we forget about. But then 2020, the presidential election, what did the people want again? And it sounds kind of familiar, guys. Economics, 79%. Healthcare, 68%. Supreme appointees went up to 64%. The COVID-19 outbreak, 62%. Violent crime, 59%. Kind of strange. It wasn't there in 2016, but boy, 2020, that was top priority. Violent crimes. Foreign policy was there. Gun policy. Race and ethnic equality. Immigration. Economics equality. Climate change, right? So climate change was 42%. Economic equality, 49%. Immigration, 52%. Race and ethnic equality, 52%. Guns policy, 55%. Foreign policy, 57%. Violent crimes, 59%. COVID-19, it was going strong, 62%. Supreme appointing, 64%. Healthcare, probably because of COVID-19, all that was gone, 68%. And of course, economics, 79%. So 2016, we were worried about economics. 2020, we were worried about economics, and we're still worried about that, right? Terrorists got to the front page in 2016. We brought it to the forefront, scared everybody, thinking the terrorist attacks don't happen in 2016. Don't see it. Nothing. Nobody was worried about that in 2020 when they were running for it. Wasn't an issue. Nobody thought about it because we never were drilled over and over again. Foreign policy, yeah, that's always an issue, right? Gun was always an issue, right? Immigration, it dropped from 70% down to 52% when the 2020 election. Kind of crazy. Supreme Court sure jumped up there because what happened, right? But abortion still was low, 40%. We still didn't worry about abortion because we didn't think that nothing will happen. And like again, you guys, we were fooled. So what makes you think that nothing else is happening? You must see it right now. The most people have the most power really is the state. I mean, state versus federal, the state really has more power, right? But of course, the 14th Amendment is coming in play. I mean, that's getting it. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to judicial, therefore are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any laws, this and that, which shall abridge the privilege of citizens of the United States. Nor shall the state deprive anybody of personal life, liberty, property without due process of law, or deny any person within tradition of equal protection of laws. So no state shall make and enforce laws which will affect us, right? So we were fooled that the federal government, the big federal government will regulate more things on us and take our rights away, the 14th Amendment in a sense, but the state has more power, and that's why you're starting to see the state doing more things, like radical things. Like, guys, remember, we thought it opened the floodgate once the Roe versus Wade decision came in, goes back to the state. Now the states now feel they have so much power, and you could just see it across the board what states are doing. I mean, some states actually are some states are doing some crazy stuff of education in a sense, right? So they're wiping out things. Kind of crazy. I mean, think about Texas. I'm going to bring up Texas. We have a national holiday, a federal holiday of Martin Luther King Jr., right? So our kids are in school, and Martin Luther King, we have a holiday, right? So in Texas, cancel culture target the teachers of the Reverend Martin Luther King. Why does Texas voters drop Dr. King? I have a dream speech and letter from the Bremen jail from their curriculum. So they're slowly, I mean, isn't that crazy? We have a holiday, and one of the best speeches that could ever be written, that they're signed that you can't discuss that in the schools of Texas. I mean, they don't even, I mean, I can't fathom. Texas Governor Gray Abbott has already signed legislation requires educators to avoid instruction that suggests slavery, racism, or anything other than division from betraying of the failure to live up to authority found in the principle of the United States. So they can't talk about slavery. They can't talk about racism in the schools. So they say, oh, so you want to bring it to their parents to teach them that? But we have a holiday, Martin Luther King. One of the biggest thing that failure of the United States is the equal rights. The big riots that we had, Martin Luther King riot, we had all that stemmed from racism in a sense, right? But, we're not supposed to be taught that in high school. So where's our kids learning that? I mean, how are we going to learn from the past if it's not taught? And I don't know about you guys now, parents, they don't, in the past, they have one income that could sustain a house. One income. But now, it's too, it costs too much to have one income. So when does a parent have time to learn that? I mean, when does it? Just throwing that out there. So like I said, what's going on? I mean, we're letting things happen. Once again, we're letting people say they want freedom of speech. They want gun rights. But what about the 14th Amendment? That is getting questioned almost. That's where That's where almost every argument comes from, is from the 14th Amendment that people are using to define a lot of things that's going on. So just let you know, Martin Luther King, you have the holiday in Texas, but you have no idea, your children don't know why you have it. Oh, what happened to slavery? Or racism? Because crazy. There was another state that the House took almost Martin Luther King and almost like 6 other people out of being discussed. All the different race but white, and it was the House Senate who passed the bill, not took those out, but the Senate took all those things out, and a senator, a House member went to the Senate and said, "Why are you whitewashing it?" Isn't that crazy? But anyway, let's jump to another subject. But let's just change it up a little. Let's get us a little more relaxed, and we will talk a little more. So let's talk about what a couple other things that, and then I will cut it out a little, and that is really just relax and then. So a couple things we talked about. Hey, look it up, see how many governors and senators that are getting prosecuted, convicted. And by the way, one senator said, one talk host said, "Hey, don't worry," to his people, his followers. Hey, if a president gets, if somebody gets charged for a felony, they could still be the president of the United States. Wow. Just crazy. And then, so let's talk about some of the worries that somebody had a discussion about that that happened. By the way, what the Democrats ran off in 2020, just that you guys know, they ran off being able to do 200 million shots for COVID-19. That was completed. Reopen the schools. That was completed. Enter at mass mandate. It was almost completed, but some states didn't want to jump on that board. They passed a 1.9 trillion COVID relief package. And within that package, it was like 460 million direct payments, 350 unemployment insurance, 160 billion. All this is billion, by the way. Direct pandemic response, 120 children tax credit, 350 billion local government, 170 billion to schools to reopen, redo the things. 146 billion to nutrition to our veterans and others, and so they almost got everything done. Repeal that was one of the things in the 1.9 COVID relief package. They did try to repeal the taxes cuts for that the previous administrator did. That was in the process. Change taxes overseas profits. That was in the process. Rejoin the Paris Climate. They did that. Convene a World Climate Summit. They did that. And I think just recently they just struck a deal with Iran, again, on the nuclear thing. I think that was just happening. I will do a little follow-up on that. But just interesting stuff. But somebody talked about one of the worries about, they talked about IRS agents, right? And had a big discussion on that. Oh my God, IRS agents. Now, what do you think? Why they want to go after us, right? And they added 87,000 IRS agents, and that made me think. I go like, there's not enough of them to go after the little people. That's why they're going over the top 1% or whatever. They're going after them now, tax evasion, right? But it made me think, people don't realize if you really do the whole United States and you do the percentage, right? They were worried about new agents. There are 332 million 403,650 U.S. citizens. 332 million in the United States, 403,650 people in the United States. If I look this up, at the time we only had was only 80,000 IRS agents. You hear what I just said? 332,403,650 people live in the United States, and we only had 80,000 IRS agents. Now we just added another 87,000, right? Okay. Agents, right? To help through the people in the 1%, whatever, right? So how much does that really affect you, that you really think they're going after you? Well, if you do the math, right, to the percentage of the population and the new IRS agents, 167 or whatever, it comes out to be 0.0000524%. It affects all the people in the United States. You understand that? Not even a 10%. They still don't cover, only those agents will only be able to cover, if they went out everybody, 0.0000524%. And you're really worried about letting news agencies scare you enough to think they're going after you. Think about it. They only had 80,000 before, 80,000. Now they added another 87,000. Isn't that? And remember, some of you guys were waiting for your refund because they didn't have enough agents, and people say, oh, they didn't have enough computers or whatever. But guess what? There still have to be somebody manning that. And so you do the percentage. I don't get that. So they were letting people scare us to also get that one climate bill that they just did to scare us, to think it's a bad thing. I mean, that's pretty much what that was. To scare us, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? To scare us to think that it's going to affect us, the IRS. Coming after you right now. 87,000 people. 87,000 of them going to go after us. Amazing. Amazing. It was a great conversation. Also had a great conversation. Oh, if they go after the 1%, goes up to 15%, why don't you think it will get passed down to the consumers? And I'm going like, dude, even when they're not going after raising the interest rates of them, going after the top 15%, right? Raise the corporate, didn't they still not go after us? Crazy. So I don't want anybody like, that's that argument about like the argument about that is it's not magic. They're not coming after us with the IRS agents and all that. That's not happening. But it's just another way of politics of trying to scare us for us not to pay attention. So the last thing before I go, the hearing. I had an interesting conversation. People say, hey, I don't understand the hearing. Why aren't they, hey, both sides asking hard questions and so forth? It's a hearing. The hearing is a section of the Senate. It's nothing new. It's a joint special committee that usually opens the public to obtain information, opinions on proposal, legislation, conduct an investigation, evaluate overseas activity, government departments, and so forth. And then that after all that procedures of even the investigation, now we would know if it gets passed to what? The DOJ, and if there's anybody committing crimes and stuff like that. So that's why you don't see people questioning, arguing with somebody. They're gathering information, and behind the scenes as well, we see one part of it, but a lot of it is happening behind closed doors in the questions. Some of them did take the Fifth Amendment and stuff like that. We heard that as well. But hey, like they said in 2016, if anybody has taken the Fifth They are guilty. And we know who said that. Donald Trump. And guess what he did? Took the fifth. So, like I said, just have fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening to my podcast. Catch me again. Have a different subject. Probably won't be politics. Probably be something go on in the RV living and stuff like that. But hey, this is Rhymes Times. Everyday guy, everyday thoughts. And don't forget, make comments, likes, and of course, catch me on my other plateaus, Spotify, podcast, SoundCloud, Twitter, Thomas Rhymes Jr., Instagram, Rhymes Times, and all the fun stations. So like I said, have some fun, and I will talk to you guys later.